As it happens, I'm not actually here to talk about my adventures in the Honduras with Turkish Pete. I'm actually here... I am actually here to talk about BHM. I am actually here to talk about BHMs the world over. So, what is a BHM? BHM stands for Big Hairy Monster. Any large, hairy, roughly humanoid entity. Whilst Yeti and Bigfoot are of course the most famous, there are many, many others reported from all over the world. There are two main informal subcategories for these cryptids. One category contains all the more tame, normal specimens that sound like biological animals, whilst the other category contains all the weird things that seem supernatural, out of place, or just plain silly. The more respectable category includes Bigfoot, the Yeti, and other ape men that seem biologically plausible. These beings typically live in remote areas, where it's somewhat believable a large mammal could go undiscovered, have footprints with 5 toes, and generally seem to behave in ways in which a biological animal ought. The other kind are creatures that shall be referred to from herein as hairy bipeds, a wider sort of creatures that are rather less plausible. They're found in heavily populated areas, places where few scientists expect a large mammal could live undetected. They're also biologically absurd, being the size of an elephant, having only 3 toes, or combining the classic ape-man look with a wolf's head, a goat legs, a fishy tail, or bat wings. They also act in ways we would not expect from real animals, such as wearing absurd bits of clothing. They also often have ghostly or paranormal characteristics, such as glowing brown eyes, the ability to walk through solid objects, or the ability to suddenly vanish. Like hallucinations, they are often bulletproof. An attempt at formally classifying BHM reports was made by Lauren Coleman and Patrick Hugh in the 1999 book Field Guide to Bigfoot and Other Mystery Primates. They split BHM reports into 9 different categories: Neo-giants, true giants, marked hominids, Neanderthaloids, erectus hominids, unknown pongonids, proto-pygmies, giant monkeys, and merbeings. Whilst the classification scheme hasn't really held up 20 years on, it was the first real attempt to formally classify the BHM phenomenon. However, I think enough with introductions. The BHM phenomenon is a great and varied one, with diverse representatives of the phenomenon pretty much everywhere except Antarctica. And that's only because Brian Blessed hasn't been there yet. So, let's take the world tour. First stop on our whistle-stop world tour is North America, home to the most famous BHM of all, Bigfoot, or Sasquatch. Bigfoot is reported as being a hulking biped of about 6 to 9 feet tall, heavily built and muscular, with large feet and a sagged crest on top of the forehead, making it look somewhat pointed, with a sloping forehead. The entire body is covered with thick, shaggy fur, usually black, dark brown, or reddish. The body shape is often compared to a professional American football player or a bodybuilder, with large muscles and a solid physique. Footprints are quite human-like, but much, much larger, measuring 15 inches long on average. Behaviour towards humans can be aggressive, but it's seldom anything worse than a threat display. Generally, the creature will prefer to flee if startled. despite prodigious size and strength. Native American accounts of Bigfoot go back thousands of years. Many tribes told stories of tall, man-like animals, but each having its own name for the creature: skookum, buckwheat, amongst others. The early European settlers in North America became aware of these stories over 300 years ago, but dismissed them as little better than fairy tales. The name Sasquatch was coined in the 1920s by J.W. Burns, a schoolteacher in British Columbia, anglicising the word more properly rendered as squack. As far as Burns was concerned, he was collecting simple folklore. However, he soon learned that the native tribes considered it all too real. In 1938, at a local festival, an official from the Canadian government touched on the subject. Dismissively, he commented, "Sasquatch are merely imaginary Indian monsters. No white man has seen one, and they do not exist." He was interrupted, however, by Chief Flying Eagle of the Halkomelem, who declared, "The white speaker is wrong. Some white men have seen Sasquatch. Many Indians have seen them. Sasquatch are still all around here. I have spoken." And as it happened, Chief Flying Eagle was very, very right. White men had been recording sightings of Sasquatch for quite some years. In the early 1800s, when the interior started to be explored, the reports started to emerge. The oldest known contemporary account comes from 1818, which a man near Ellisburg in New York State saw a large, hairy, man-like creature. Other accounts soon followed, from Michigan and Iowa in the 1860s, Pennsylvania in 1874, and Indiana in the 1890s. One of the more detailed accounts comes from a hunter near Antioch in California in 1869, who observed a large, hairy, man-like creature at close range whilst camping. He described the creature as being about 5 feet high, covered with dark brown hair, with broad shoulders, long arms, short legs, and a long body. He commented he had met one other hunter who had seen the creatures, and a dozen more who had seen mysterious footprints. Throughout the 19th century, they were dubbed gorillas in newspaper reports, in reference to the newly discovered great apes. It was theorised these were gorillas or similar apes escaped from zoos or travelling shows. However, some of the most infamous pre-1958 accounts come from the 1920s. The first was the Battle of Ape Canyon, reported by 5 gold prospectors who claimed that their cabin had been attacked by large, hairy ape men. A far more peaceful encounter with Bigfoot was recorded that same year in British Columbia. I am, of course, referring to the story of Albert Osman, who presents one of the most detailed and infamous Bigfoot accounts ever recorded. You're all probably familiar with the story. Osman was kept captive by a nuclear family of Bigfoot for 6 days. This is the first time Bigfoot was observed for a prolonged period and significantly interacting with humans. Osman felt no threat, however he also didn't feel free to leave. He half-jokingly speculated he had been captured as a prospective mate for the young female. Eventually, Osman escaped when the large male ate an entire jar of snuff Osman had taken with him. Due to fear of ridicule, Osman didn't share his story for the next 33 years. There were no meaningful accounts for another 30 years, until an encounter reported by William Rowe in 1955, which is probably the most detailed Bigfoot account ever. Rowe was an experienced hunter living in Alberta, Canada, and was doing a reconnaissance around Tete John Cache. Following a creature he initially thought was either a grizzly bear, a huge man in a fur coat, or some dressed as a gorilla. When he got into 20 feet of it, he realised it wasn't a man at all. He described the beast as being over 6 feet tall, with shoulders 3 feet across, and weighing around 400 pounds, based on, some very prominent physical characteristics. Roe deemed it was female. It was incredibly heavily built, with heavily muscled, disproportionately long arms, reaching down to its knees. It also had incredibly large feet. It was covered in dark brown fur and had a human-like face. Roe went to shoot it, but found it so human-like he was unable to. So he let it go. As it walked to the edge of the clearing, it let out a loud call. Bigfoot came known to the wider world in 1958, when a construction crew in Bluff Creek, California, were visited by an elusive beast that left large human-like footprints and threw their tools about. Jerry Crew made cast the footprints, initially believing them to be a practical joke. However, he soon became convinced an actual creature left them. The local press sent a reporter, Betty Allen, to cover the case. It was she who made the connection between the footprints and the hairy man-ape that people have talked about for years. It is there the name Bigfoot originates. It is with the events of Bluff Creek, a number of names have been attached to Bigfoot lore ever since entered the picture. John Green, Bob Titmus, and Rene DeHinden, amongst others, became infamous names in Bigfoot research because of the events of Bluff Creek. And also, Ray Wallace, Crew's boss, played an enigmatic and highly controversial role in Bigfoot lore for years to come. As the self-confessed perpetrator of many hoaxes and wild claims relating to Bigfoot, including a pair of large wooden feet he used to fake tracks, claiming photographs and videos on multiple occasions, and even that he killed one and hidden the body away. Needless to say, he never produced it. In the aftermath, the reports began to multiply. A bit of a double-edged sword, as whilst it became easier for people to come forward with reports, it also increased the likelihood of misidentifications, bedeviling Bigfoot researchers to this day. And by the summer of 1967, hundreds of people had reported finding gigantic footprints and seeing huge, hairy, man-like apes all over the United States. It was in this environment that Roger Patterson turned the world upside down. Roger Patterson and Bob Gilman have been hailed as heroes and condemned as crooks. They've been praised for their success and dismissed as amateurs who got lucky. You probably all know the story. Patterson and Gilman were riding along the east bank of Bluff Creek and saw a Bigfoot when they rounded a logjam. Patterson grabbed the camera, dismounted, and ran towards the creature. Pursuing it and trying to keep it in shot, he tripped and fell over a sudden rise, and the creature turned to stare at him. Scrambling to his feet, he refocused the camera, which was walking away, and refocused it on the creature. It turned to look at him and eventually passed around the bend in the canyon. They followed the creature for about a mile before losing it in the heavy undergrowth. The trail ended. The story didn't. It's been the subject of enormous argument and interpretation. Opinions vary widely. Some say the animal exceeds a human in height, breadth, and mass and walks in a manner that can't be imitated. Others say the footage is most likely faked. Both Patterson, until the day of his death, and Gimlin vociferously defended the route of the film. Gimlin does to this day. Many have claimed over the years they were the man in the suit. However, their claims have never been convincing. One particular, Bob Hieronymus, not only did not know how to get to the site where it was filmed, but was also later revealed to be a pathological liar. Whilst the Patterson film is the most significant piece of evidence, it's not the only one. Firstly, there's a great deal of footprint reports. Whilst it was once estimated quite a lot of these are fake, some are undoubtedly real. The most impressive bit of physical evidence is the skookum cast, which was found in September 2000. Checking on some fruit left out as bait on the Bigfoot expedition, markings were found that indicated some large animal had lain down to grab the fruit. Unidentifiable hair found in the print and primate-like features. Feces have also been found which can't be identified. One particular sample containing the eggs of a parasitic worm that lived only in the guts of apes. Hairs have also been found. Analysis of fact has found they share primate-like features. Vocalizations have also been recorded, varying from whoops to whistles to shrieks and growls, and pretty much all North American wildlife has been ruled out. What is Bigfoot then? From the description, it's transparently some kind of primate. The most cited candidate is the gigantic ape Gigantopithecus blacki. Whilst it's only known from teeth and jaws, it's estimated as being up to 10 feet in height. And according to some, based on the shape of Gigantopithecus's lower jaws, it walked upright on two legs. This giant ape lived throughout Asia, and whilst it's never been found in North America, it's possible that it strode across the Bering Land Bridge and still exists there today. Another candidate is some kind of relic Australopithecine, particularly the powerfully built paranthropines, the larger of which were close to humans in size. It's not out the realm of possibility some Australopithecines left Africa. Homo floresiensis shows the pre-erectus hominids, after all, did. Whilst old Bigfoot is the most famous BHM known from North America, it is by no means the only one. An eclectic mix of others are also known from the continent. For those recorded from the southern states, skunk ape is often used as an umbrella term. This sometimes makes categorising accounts rather difficult. The napes, often seen throughout the southeastern United States, seem rather more like actual apes than Bigfoot. They tend to walk on all fours with only brief moments of bipedalism, leaving knuckle prints with their hands. They are often described as chimpanzee-like. In the same states, a far more bizarre creature is reported, sometimes called a devil monkey. It's generally described as having pointed ears, a dog-like head, and a long tail. Sometimes described as bushy, like a wolf's or a fox's, and occasionally as hairless, like a rat's. Devil monkey prefers to go on all fours. And when they do rise their hind legs, they generally travel by long jumps in the manner of a kangaroo. The hind feet may only have 3 toes, and the hind legs are digitigrade, with a long, narrow foot. It's perhaps important to note these reports only came about after exotic animals like chimps and kangaroos reached the United States. It's highly likely many of the napes were escaped circus apes. Indeed, one of the most famous skunk ape photos, shown at the top left, most likely depicts an escaped or feral orangutan. And feral chimps have been seen in Florida and California right up to the present day. For the devil monkeys, they're most likely escaped or at least large kangaroos. Many of the reported traits, 4 to 6 feet tall, short fur, long tail, barrel chest, thick arms, strong legs, and movement with a hopping motion, all traits that correspond with large kangaroos. And not many people know that kangaroos can be surprisingly aggressive, fitting quite a few of the devil monkey's behavioural traits. I'm pretty sure some people will protest. Kangaroos and chimps are familiar animals. How could someone not recognise one? The answer is very simple. Many people have a shocking ignorance of the natural world and can be stunningly naive about the animals they share the planet with. It's also a fact certain images of animals can become prevalent in popular culture. Now, this is a very long-winded way of saying that some people are more likely to think devil monkey when catching a fleeting glimpse of a large unfamiliar animal rather than kangaroo. Since their image of kangaroo is a fairly small, cute-looking creature rather than a large, quite aggressive animal they really are. The devil monkeys and napes are most likely mistaken or embellished accounts. with such creatures. Whilst the napes and devil monkeys are most likely flesh and blood animals, the same can't be said of others. Creatures which evidently have no biological basis. A particularly bizarre serpent-rat hairy biped is the goat man, an umbrella term used for multiple mystery creatures seen throughout the southern and eastern parts of the USA, Maryland, Kentucky, and Texas. It's described as a Bigfoot-like animal, only with hooves and a goat-like head, similar to the satyrs from Greek mythology. One of the goat men, the Maryland one, was said to be a scientist who worked at the Beltsville Agricultural Research Center. The tale holds that he was experimenting rather closely with goats. Not in that way, stop sniggering. When the experiment backfired and he became goat-like himself, he then began attacking cars with an axe, roaming the back roads of Beltsville, Maryland, as he did. Goat-man law began in 1957, where a Bigfoot-like animal, dubbed goat man for its long, goat-like legs, was recorded in Maryland. Eventually, over the late 1960s and early 70s, it transmogrified into the horned, hairy, bipedal monster we all know and love. It still exists today. A hunter in Utah, disguising himself as a mountain goat in preparation for hunting season in 2012, found himself receiving rather more than he bargained for when photos of him on the side of a mountain were widely reported as a goat man by the media. Disguise worked. Not to be outdone by the deep south, other states have gained some rather odd BHMs, some of which are rather more supernatural. The most infamous of these creatures is the Mothman of Point Pleasant, Virginia. It's often described as a grey-brown humanoid with massive wings in place of arms and gigantic glowing red eyes. It's got a rather paranormal bent. The initial spate of Mothman sightings in the 1960s coincided with the collapse of the Silver Bridge. Mothman also has a spiritual cousin, the rather unimaginatively named Bat Squatch, which was infamously seen near Mount St. Helens in 1994. What to make of Mothman? Mothman is transparent and not a flesh and blood animal. Many of its reported traits, large glowing red eyes, association with terrible events, and a nameless dread in witnesses, give a rather paranormal bent to the accounts. With Mothman, we enter the realm of zooform phenomena, a realm where the biologically minded, like myself, is tread. Now we move to Asia. The most famous Asian BHM is the Himalayan Yeti. Contrary to popular imagination, as many of you know, the Yeti is not white-furred, but has fur ranging from reddish to brown to black. A confusion which arose from a mistranslation of one of its many names. The lush forests in the lower valleys make much more sense for a Yeti habitat, since they have more food for a large primate. The term Yeti is Tibetan for rock beast. It's an umbrella term used for three different creatures. The Dzute, a hulking biped, 8 to 10 feet tall, with dark hair that leaves large human-like footprints. It's said to be quite aggressive, sometimes even attacking yaks. The Mita, a man-sized creature that can move both bipedally and quadrupedally, and the Tagma, a 4-foot biped covered in light brown and yellowish hair. The pre-Buddhist Himalayan people spoke of a large, incredibly strong man-like beast of the forests and mountains, using rocks as weapons and made a whistling sound, fitting well with descriptions of modern times. The first Westerner to hear of these tales was BHM, who was in northern Nepal in 1825 when his local guides saw a tall bipedal creature covered in long dark hair. Hodgson didn't see the creature for himself, but based on descriptions he concluded it was an orangutan. Sometime later, Mary MacDonald, the daughter of a colonial officer, was on a pleasure ramble near the Garbiang Pass when she heard a strange animal call, which her guide said had been made by a meadow kangming. In 1921, Colonel Hammond Bury heard the same term in reference to tracks left by three human-like figures he observed near La Habana. By the late 1920s, several Europeans working in the Himalaya had seen unusual footprints, many more hearing strange tales. Frank Smythe, a mountaineer and author, looking at the reports, concluded the creature was some sort of unknown ape. One of the more famous encounters with the larger kind of Yeti occurred during World War II by Slawomir Requis on his infamous trek from Siberia to India. In 1942, the group saw two 8-foot-tall Yetis at a distance of 100 yards whilst following a Himalayan mountain track. There was something of the bear and the ape about their shape, as he later recalled. However, it wasn't until 1951 that the West took an interest in the Yeti. When Eric Shipton took an iconic photo of a footprint he discovered on the Malur Glacier. The 12-inch tracks are sunk into the snow with a silly offset mid-toe. Sir Edmund Hillary, the conqueror of Everest, saw similar prints 2 years later. The sightings continued throughout the 1950s. Boris Prozhniev, the Russian hominologist, whom we shall meet again later, recorded the sighting of a huge Yeti raiding a flour mill in the village of Tarka. The animal was 10 feet tall, with long arms, a pointed head, and a monkey-like face. When the man who saw it ran away to get help, the Yeti beat a hasty retreat. In the period after World War II, many expeditions searched for the elusive creature. In particular, Texan oil millionaire Tom Slick financed a number of expeditions in the late 50s and early 60s. He was involved on several Yeti incidents, including one that happened on the road to the Barun Valley in Nepal. The two witnesses, a boy and his older sister, were grazing their herd of yaks when a 10-foot-tall Yeti, covered in black and brown fur, approached them, killed one of the yaks before retreating. The witnesses noted similarities to orangutans, gorillas, and reconstructions of prehistoric man, but rejected monkeys, black bears, and other animals they were familiar with. This period also brought a wealth of physical evidence and reports of more aggressive encounters. Legendary explorer Peter Byrne interviewed a man who told him that his father had been attacked by a Yeti whilst on a pilgrimage with friends to Manaswar Lake. It's in Tibet. The Yeti charged at the group, coming down a hillside with great strides. It was covered in hair, walked upright, leapt over the rocks, and emitted shrill cries. The party was fled. So they've also looked at Yeti relics, one of which was a mummified Yeti hand at the Pendek monastery. Peter Burns stole some of the bones of the Yeti hand, and with the help of the actor Jim Stewart, smuggled them out of the country. The bones were similar to a human, but large and robust. The hand itself got nicked from the monastery in the 1990s. Current whereabouts are unknown. Shame. More antagonistic encounters were recorded by the explorer and conservationist Desmond Doig, who visited Nepal in 1960. He met two people with close-range encounters with a Yeti after an avalanche in the area 20 years prior. According to the head alarm of the local monastery, the creature had been looking for the bodies of victims. The head alarm also informed Doig of two more recent incidents. The first barely 2 years prior, in which a pair of Yetis had attempted to break into the monastery. The monks scared the Yetis off by ringing the sacred bell, and another, several years before, in which a Nepali official with servants had come to Pendek and was awakened in the middle of the night by a Yeti appearing at the window. The monks, accustomed to such intrusions, scared the animal off with a large horn. Though smaller than the Dzute, the Mite is said to be quite aggressive. It was this kind of Yeti that attacked Lakpa Domani in 1974. She heard a whistling noise and was then struck from behind by a creature similar to a large ape with black and brown hair and broad cheekbones. It was said to have picked her up and thrown her with quite some distance and attacked the yak sheep in Pendek. She was found soon after, wounded and unconscious but alive. Several nearby yaks lay dead with the Yeti prints all around them. In 1972, the biologists Edward Cronin and Geoffrey McNeely found a set of ape-like tracks outside their camp in Yeren Valley. The tracks went through their camp and went back up a ridge without dropping onto all fours. When looked at by the mammalologist Dr. George Sharma, he noted they demonstrated a close resemblance to the mountain gorilla. Startling new Yeti evidence has emerged recently. TV vet naturalist Mark Evans, formerly sceptical, on an expedition in the mountains of Bhutan, took water from a pool where the Yeti had been reported and found in the environmental DNA anomalous DNA from a primate that shared 99% of its DNA with humans, something both unknown to science and closely related to man. A mystery primate rather similar to the Yeti is reported in China, the Yeren. Reports of the Yeren go back thousands of years. Pictograms dating back from the Shang period depict hairy humanoids, and hairy wild men are reported in the book Classic of Mountains and Seas. The noted 16th century polymath Li Shizhen included the Yeren in his Compendium of Materia Medica, classifying it as a transitional species between ape and man. In 1940, the biologist Wang Jilin allegedly examined the body of a dead female. The creature was said to be 6 to 6.5 feet tall, with deep-set eyes, a huge nose and enormous teeth and jaws. A description rather similar to Homo erectus, whose remains have been found in the area. In 1976, Chen Liang Sheng saw the Yeren on a remote forest road in Shenandoah whilst travelling back from a work conference. He filed a report of the incident with the Chinese Academy of Sciences and notified the local government. When he returned to the spot, he found 20 bright red hairs, all of which were subsequently donated to museums or researchers or lost. Shame. The sighting prompted a government expedition next year, led by paleontologist Huang Wambo. The expedition lasted a year and found huge man-like tracks and alleged hairs. From the evidence, he concluded it was a higher primate. One of the recruits on the expedition, Yuan Ho, who was initially sceptical of its existence, saw the beast for himself in 1981. It was 7 feet tall, its head visible above the surrounding bamboo forest. Yu Hao was familiar with all of Shengoji's wild animals, and he knew this was not a bear or a snub-nosed monkey. Another expedition in 1980 found droppings, tracks, hair samples and nests, and 2 expedition members saw the Yeren for themselves. Hair samples have been tested with interesting results. Physicists at Fudan University found the proportion of iron to zinc in Yeren hair was 50 times greater than the human being and 7 times greater than that of other primates. These findings were independently confirmed by Western scientists. Biologists at another Chinese university, examining the hairs with electron microscopes, came to the conclusion the hairs were not human nor of any known primate. So, what are these things? Of 3 kinds of Yeti, there are multiple explanations. The larger kind, the most cited ape candidate is Gigantopithecus blackeye, who we met before. It stood 10 feet tall and weighed 1,300 pounds, matching the Zute in approximate size. And, as earlier stated, some think it walked upright on 2 legs. Gigantopithecus was incredibly successful, existing throughout Asia for over 2 million years. And something still today. The medium-sized Yeti seems to be a great ape. Orangutans, up till about 11,000 years ago, existed on the Asian mainland. The man-sized Yeti could be a remnant of his hairy apes. The smallest seems to be related to the Yeren Pendek of Sumatra, who we have met now. The Yeren Pendek is said to be powerfully built and immensely strong, but short, about 3 to 5 feet in height, walking upright on 2 legs. It's generally said to have dark brown or grey or black fur, but honey-coloured or reddish hair is also reported. It's generally solitary, although there have been rare reports of groups. Whilst feared due to its massive strength, the Yeren Pendek is not thought of as aggressive. It will largely retreat from any humans it sees. It's largely herbivorous, feeding on fruits, vegetables and tubers, with some reports of the animal ripping open logs to get at insect larvae. It's known by many names: Sadaka, Gugu, Aturimbu, Sabala. Locals have known about them for centuries, but one of the earliest outsiders to report of the Yeren Pendek was John Marangoli, and William Marsden in 1784 wrote of a rarely seen race of long-haired wildmen. Most of the western Yeren Pendek reports come from the early part of the 20th century. In 1918, the Sumatran governor, Elsie Wensterling, wrote about 2 specific incidents encounters of the creature, one from 1910 and one from 1917. The 1917 encounter was recorded by Mr. Ustin, a plantation owner, who encountered a 5-foot-tall, hairy figure covered with short, dark hair. In 1916, the first Westerner to really investigate reports of the Yeren Pendek was a Dutchman called Van Herwaarden. Whilst initially sceptical, he became convinced of the creature's existence. He met 3 Kubu natives who claimed to have seen the creature. It was 4.5 feet tall, hairy, and had long canine teeth. Eventually, he saw a female Yeren Pendek for himself. The animal was about 5 feet in height, covered in long dark hair, had long arms and short legs. He went to shoot the creature, but found it so human-like, he couldn't. He let it go. 1927 was in many ways a golden year for Yeren Pendek. A Dutch plantation employee and a native woodcutter saw an Yeren Pendek at close range. Long hair, black skin, and left human-like footprints. And a sergeant major called Van Escht encountered the Yeren Pendek in Suriname after climbing down a cliff to get some water. 4 feet tall, was covered in brown hair, and had 6-inch wide feet. A long head, a dark face, and prominent canines. And a Yeren Pendek later that year was caught in a tiger trap that broke free. Blood traces left behind were found to not belong to a bear, a gibbon, or a human. It was not until the 1980s the world took notice once more. In 1989, an Englishwoman, Debbie Martyr, went to Sumatra as a travel writer. Whilst camped on the slopes of Mount Kerinci, her guide, Jan Ruddin, casually commented that in the forested mountains east, a Yeren Pendek was sometimes seen. Initially sceptical, Martyr researched further, gathering detailed and consistent descriptions in villages sometimes as 60 miles apart. But she also found that whilst there had been no Yeren Pendek sightings for nearly 3 years in populated areas, many reliable sightings had come from semi-cultivated areas on the edge of the forest. One from Mount Kerinci, near the village of Palampet, and others around a small town called Lemper. The Palampet witness was in his grandfather's house, a bamboo hut, in his fields when he saw 2 Yeren Pendek, one bigger than the other, eating sugarcane. When he went to look at them more closely, they saw him and retreated. He was insistent they were not humans, orangutans, or monkeys, and was offended when Debbie suggested they might be sun bears or siamangs. Everyone she spoke to rejected these explanations. She also viewed the Yeren Pendek as a flesh and blood animal. They also viewed the Yeren Pendek as a flesh and blood animal. Convinced she was on the right track, she investigated further. Speaking to the headman of the village, Sam Payne, she found that a female Yeren Pendek had been sighted around the village in recent weeks. The village's headman and a reformed rhino poacher called Muish acted as Martha's guides, both very incredulous at Martha's explanation and the people out there who didn't believe in around Pendek. That's about capturing while Noush stated that whilst it would be possible, no locals would help if it would be harmed. After a day's trek, they found tracks of two around Pendek. The larger of the two was 6 inches long and 4 inches wide. A plaster cast of the print shown to the director of Corinchi Black National Park, who had dismissed the orangutan as a folk tale. Upon seeing the cast, he admitted it was not from any animal he knew of. Emboldened, Marta and photographer Jeremy Holden engaged in a 15-year search. Whilst they failed to capture the creature on film, Holden saw the creature for himself. In 2003, an expedition led by Adam Davis found and cast around Pendek footprints. When one of the casts was examined by primatologist Dr. David Chivers, he concluded the footprint did not belong to any known primate species. In 2010, a 54-year-old resident of Pendek called Pac-Man, yes, that really was his name, said he saw the around Pendek on numerous occasions, most recently 10 days prior. He was sleeping in his bunk when he saw something break into his shed. He saw the animal was about 3 feet tall, covered in grey hair, with a large torso, a large stomach, short legs and long arms. It had a rounding head, no neck, and a non-protruding mouth. It had long fingers and used its hands in a human-like way. It had 4 toes and a very large one sticking out the side. He immediately knew it was around Pendek because of stories he'd heard from his grandfather. When shown some pictures of animals, he identified the gorilla and the chimp as being most similar to what he'd seen. He scared off the animal by kicking on the planks of his bunk, and when investigating his shed, Frel and Opengin found a footprint that looked like a human hand. The around Pendek is almost certainly a new species of ape. There was once a landmass called Sunda, which incorporated Sumatra, Borneo, Java and the surrounding islands, connecting to mainland Asia. Rising sea levels turned this huge landmass into the islands we know today. Orangutans had speciated 400,000 years ago. Recently, a second species of orangutan was discovered further south on Sumatra. This argued that around Pendek as a 4th species of orangutan adapted for a terrestrial lifestyle. Moving further north, there have been hundreds of reports coming out of Central Asia of a creature that's rather more human-like. They've been known by many names, but for the sake of simplicity, we'll call it the Almasty. The oldest written reference comes from Hans Schildberger, a Bavarian noble who was captured in battle and sold into slavery. After his eventual return to Europe, he wrote of wild people, hairy wild people, who were given to, who ate foliage, grass, wherever else they could find. Schildberger also was one of the first Europeans to write about Przewalski's horse, adding an air of authenticity to his recollection of the forest people. The book The Mirror of Medicine, published in China in the year 1664, which detailed a compendium of wild animals found in Mongolia and northern China, included the wild man, accompanied by an illustration showing a hairy human-like figure standing on a large rock. This book contains illustrations of thousands of animals, but does not have one single mythological creature. Every animal in that book is living and observable today. The wild man might have been real too. Unlike many BHMs, the Almasty has been the subject of significant scientific study. The former Soviet Union took the Almasty so seriously that in 1958, Snowman Commission, an official department of top-ranking scientists, was formed specifically to investigate the creature. Boris Prozhniev, one of the Commission's founding members, became completely convinced of the Almasty's existence, writing a book about the subject which, for a very long time, wasn't available outside of Russia. Shortly after the Snowman Commission dissolved, the Russian doctor Ivan Ivlov collected a great deal of data from herdsmen about the wild people, and John Colarusso collected data from Caucasian hillmen about the Almasty, even recording several instances of people trading with them, trading beans and shiny bangles for fruits and roots. Even today, there's a close circle of Russian hominologists dedicated to investigating the creature. One would imagine a live specimen would clear up the issue. Indeed, there have been several purported Almasty captures. In 1910, a Kazakh herdsman told a Russian zoologist about the capture of an Almasty woman in the 1890s. He recalled that she'd been captured by some farms and been chained up. She would screech and bare her teeth if approached and slept in a rather peculiar manner, resting on her knees and elbows with her forehead on the ground and her hands folded on the back of her head. After a few days, she was released. Another, far more famous account of a purported Almasty capture comes from the former Soviet state of Georgia. I'm referring to a very infamous story in BHM circles, the story of Zana. I want to elaborate upon Zana's long and tragic story, as it deserves to be treated with a great deal of respect in this whistle-stop world tour could possibly grant. In the mid-19th century, hunters captured a woman with ape-like features, a rather large bosom, thick arms, legs and fingers, and covered with reddish hair. She was eventually acquired by Edgy Ganaba, who named her Zana, meaning dark. After 3 years of being kept in a very strong enclosure, she grew docile, submitting to a near-domesticated life. She had incredible cold tolerance, disliked warm rooms, and refused to wear clothes. She was also rather fond of wine, drinking so heavily she would sleep for hours. This is likely how she became the mother of at least 6 children, all sired by numerous men from the village who seemed to use her as a sexual plaything. If one finds this difficult to believe, in 2003 a female orangutan was doped, chained and used for sex in a Bornean village. Yes, really. Her first 2 children died when she tried to wash them in the freezing river, and her remaining 4 children were taken from her and raised by Ganaba's wife. They were seemingly human, but said to be slightly dark-skinned, very strong, and ill-tempered. Zana herself died in 1890. Boris Prozhniev, researching the story, interviewed various people who remembered Zana, as well as 2 of their grandchildren, who had dark-skinned and a very African look, as well as their ancestors' prodigious strength. One of them could lift a chair with a man sitting on it using only his mouth. Let's have a collective moment of silence. No photos exist of that. In 2015, based on saliva samples of 6 of Zana's living relatives and a tooth of a deceased son Quit, bronze scientists concluded Zana was 100% African, but not of any known group. This was very confusing. Zana was clearly no modern form of human. Science came to the conclusion she belonged to an exceptionally ancient lineage of human, which may have left Africa over 150,000 years ago. The Almasty is clearly some kind of hominid, something rather close to humans than the basically ape-like Yeti and orang Pendek. Originally it was thought these were surviving populations of Neanderthals. However, the Almasty is likely far more primitive than that. What's universal about these Asian wild men is how casual the locals are with their existence. They are familiar with bears and monkeys, and insist that they are totally different. There's a story of a local in Russia who asked if the Almasty was a mythical creature, was offended that anyone thought his country's rich mythology included something as common and as boring as the Almasty. And in Sumatra, when told the people think the orang Pendek is a mythical creature, the locals can't help but giggle. South America. Not to be outshone by the Northern Hemisphere, South America has its own BHMs. Whilst the word Maracopsy is often used as an umbrella term, they are creatures of many names. The Maracopsy themselves were said to be an extremely primitive tribe of humans, hominids living in the Mato Grosso, a vast upland region in Brazil and northern Paraguay, which remains unexplored today. The most famous encounter with the Maracopsy was recorded by the celebrated South American explorer Percy Harrison Fawcett in 1914, who was searching for the ruins of a highly advanced civilization. Throughout the journey, several tribes warned him he was pushing into the territory of the animalistic Maracopsy. However, he didn't listen and pressed on, only to find the people who warned him had been absolutely right. He encountered, Fawcett and companions encountered a village inhabited by what Fawcett called some of the most villainous savages I have ever seen. They were large, hairy men with exceptionally long arms, sloping foreheads. When Fawcett and companions entered the village, the savages, as Fawcett called them, became very angry, firing bows and arrows at the group. Fawcett eventually escaped by shooting his pistol into the ground. Still here, as they left, they still heard the of the enraged braves. What to make of this encounter? Fawcett was a seasoned explorer who was an astute observer of wildlife, geological features and flora. However, Fawcett told quite a few stories that are rather dodgy, to say the least, describing encounters with titanically long anacondas and dinosaurs, amongst other things. Other travellers, however, heard stories about these people, details that were colourful but consistent. They had a supernaturally strong sense of smell, a fondness for killing and eating humans, a subterranean living and nocturnal habits. The Maracopsy were very primitive and incredibly dangerous, being hair covered and physically different to other tribes. Outside the Mato Grosso, hairy humans have been reported from the eastern slopes of the lower Andes. Reports are scarce, however. Rather better known are the Vasitri of the Orinoco Basin. They are quite obviously some kind of human, because they construct huts and use weapons and tools. However, they are also hair-covered and looked upon as primitive or animal-like. They're also very dangerous. Not only do they hunt humans, they also have the charming habit of kidnapping women for breeding purposes. The first outsider to report these stories was Alexander von Humboldt. While sceptical, he noted stories from both natives and missionaries of the hairy people. Even hearing a story about a woman who had children with one. Given the Maracopsy's use of tools, huts and fire, they're clearly some kind of hominid. Compared to the Almasti, they're a relatively advanced kind. Maybe a type of primitive human reached the Americas before we did. And maybe still some of us today. Another notorious pair of South American BHMs are the DD and the Mono Grande. Confusion about regarding these creatures, and for the sake of convenience, they'll be treated as if they are one cryptid. The Mono Grande is described as a very large monkey that stands about 5 feet tall. It often reacts badly to humans, thrashing branches, screaming aggressively and charging at intruders. Seems to be mere noise, however. The earliest written record of the Mono Grande comes from 1553 from a Spanish explorer called Pedro de Cieza de Leon. And in 1769, the naturalist Ed Bancroft wrote of the creature in his essay of the natural history of Guyana. He was sceptical, however, and believed that the that the creature had been exaggerated by the Indians who greatly feared it. In 1860, British naturalist Philip Gosse heard the tales and believed they might refer to an as yet unrecognised primate. And 8 years later, Charles Brown was on the Upper Mazarani when he heard a strange whistling animal call. When later queried about what made the cry, the native guides told him it was the Dee, a short, thick-set, powerful wild man who lived in the forest. He later encountered a man who blundered upon a pair of Dee whilst chopping timber. They attacked him, scratching him badly, but he had defended himself with his axe. In 1910, the first Westerner to see the elusive beasts came out. A British gold prospector named Haynes said he encountered a pair of hairy primates as tall as a man. The two creatures retreated when they saw him. 10 years later, another European saw the creature, and this time he got a photo of it. This story deserves to be retold in full, as it simply must be heard to be believed. One cannot talk about the Mono Grande without commenting on the odd saga of Deloy's ape. Francois Deloy was a Swiss geologist who headed to South America in 1917 to prospect oil, gas and natural resources. The story goes that in 1920, Deloy and crew were camped in the Tara River when two large animals approached the camp. Initially thinking they were bears, Deloy apparently saw they looked like giant monkeys. The creatures attacked them, but Deloy and two other men shot one of the animals dead. They picked up the dead animal and carried it back to camp, allegedly measuring it and studying it thoroughly. Apparently it was 5 feet tall, tailless, with stout muscular limbs, and had a human-like tooth count. After having taken measurements, they sat the creature on a wooden crate, propped it upright with a stick and took its photograph. The beast was skinned by the expedition cook, who also cut off the head and boiled it and kept the skull. However, it corroded away after he used it as a salt container. The skin fared a little better. It was allegedly lost when the canoe carrier was overturned. Now, as many pointed out, this was all very convenient. All supposedly unique features of the animal could not be checked or confirmed. We only had the word of Deloy to go upon these facts. Lost the skull meant we didn't have a tooth count. The animal photograph couldn't check the lack of tail, and a lack of scale meant the apparent size of the animal couldn't be confirmed. This is highly suspicious. In 1929, the anthropologist Georges Montandon enthusiastically and a tad suspiciously endorsed the reality of the creature. He dubbed it a Meranthropoides loisy. However, Montandon was a hardly an unbiased observer. One might say Deloy's ape was very convenient for him. Montandon, you see, was a big believer in hologenesis. Hologenesis, quite rightly considered racist today, argued that the different groups of Homo sapiens did not descend from one common ancestor, but instead descended independently from different primates found in the region. The white race, of course, evolved from early Homo sapiens. Africans evolved from gorillas and Asians from orangutans. In a similar vein, he proposed Deloy's ape as an ancestor to Native Americans. So yeah, pretty racist. Most later writers have stated that Deloy's ape was a hoax based on the photograph of the spider monkey, most notably Ivan T. Sanderson, who called it an obnoxious hoax. Lauren Coleman and Michel Reynal have even implicated Montandon as the orchestrator in order to support his ethno-racist views. Research has come to light suggesting Deloy's photograph was not even taken in a location claimed. The animal was most likely photographed on a banana plantation. The most probable conclusion is that it's a female white-fronted spider monkey, with the animal's tail removed prior to being photographed. It's possible they orchestrated the hoax based on the Mono Grande. They were, after all. The Lloyds was, after all, in the regions where it was recorded. Reports of the mono grande have continued up into this very day. The most likely theory is that it's a type of monkey that has evolved to live mainly or exclusively on the ground, to the point where it has lost its tail. Africa can boast a surprising number of BHMs, the cradle of evolution for mankind, and where the vast majority of apes live today. Africa might be one of the best places to find an unknown primate. In particular, the Republic of Kenya can boast to be home to a surprising few, all of which share profoundly human traits and may be the same creature. Mount Kilimanjaro has the dwarfish Wamabilicamo, or the Bacano, with a head full of flowing locks, and the Dokos of Lake Turkana, who reportedly have their own religion. This, supposedly, makes them far more evolved than the average ape. And the Maos of Kenya's Mao escarpment use rudimentary tools and fire and have a bizarre obsession with herding cattle. The most significant encounter with the Maos was in 1940 by a big game hunter named Roger Courtney. In one specific, Courtney wrote of many accounts of sightings and confrontations with the diminutive enemy. In one specific case, a man who was driving sheep fell into the hands of these gnomes when he went into a cave, following a blood trail from a sheep they had stolen. Stunned from behind, he came round to find himself surrounded by strange little creatures with white skin and long black hair. Given the human traits these creatures show, they're likely some sort of primitive hominid. Since Africa is the cradle of evolution for mankind, there's no shortage of likely candidates. However, most African BHM, an eclectic variety of BHMs, are found on the island of Madagascar. In 1658, the French explorer Admiral Etienne de Flacourt published a major tome about the island, documenting his experiences and discoveries. It contains a wealth of zoological information, including the following passage. Trete, or trata in English, is an animal as big as a 2-year-old calf, with a round head and a man's face. Its feet are like an ape's. It has frizzy hair, a short tail, and man-like ears. It is a very solitary animal, and the people of the country are very frightened of it. This was dismissed as nothing more than native folklore. Also discounted were the description and accompanying sketch of what appears to be the same creature, in this case called the Fanatach, documented by André Fevet in 1575. In many early works, the Trata was often synonymized with another Madagascar mystery beast, a huge, largely terrestrial mammal known as the Tucandia. Like modern-day Cephalus, the Tucandia is said to move on the ground with a series of bounds and leaps, but it also spends time in the trees. Whilst its face is not man-like, it has human-like vocalizations. Whilst there are no modern-day accounts of either of the previous two, there's evidence some other form of very large, still undiscovered species. The primate does exist. In 1995, David A. Burney conducted ethnographical research at 3 remote southwestern Madagascan coastal villages. Interviewing the local people, collected testimony from eyewitnesses describing 3 different mysterious beasts, 2 of which may well be species unknown to science. One of these was the kidikoi, which apparently resembled a large sifaka. It was reportedly sighted as recently as 1952, when interviewed by an educated villager called Jean Nelson Pasco. When interviewed by Burney and his companion, Madagascan archaeologist Ramilissonia, Pasco was adamant of what he had seen, and the kidikoi had dark fur with a white spot below its mouth and another one upon its brow. Unlike a savarka, which moves using a characteristic series of sideways bipedal bounds, the kiddecoy allegedly flees by running away, like a baboon, and wobbling it on the ground. Its face is round and man-like, but has a loud whooping call like an injury. The best explanations for these mystery beasts is that they're all thought extinct species of giant lemur. Cryptozoology's founding father concluded that Trachotrata was a representative of Paleopropithecus, sloth lemur. However, it's now known that Paleopropithecus, a chimpanzee-sized, rather sloth-like lemur, had a very pronounced snout. Another, Hadropithecus, did have a flattened face, and is likely the best candidate. The Tocandia is linked to the koala lemur Megalodapis, which derives its name from the outward similarity in general body form to the koala in Australia. However, it's much, much larger, weighing up to 75 kilograms, basically about the weight of an English Mastiff, or a large goat. It has proportionately long forearms, huge grasping hands and feet, an elongated face and cow-like jaws, many features that match up to Candia. The kiddecoy brings to mind a formerly extinct species of lemur called Archaeolemur, which exhibited terrestrial adaptations, and is thought to have died out several centuries ago. This assumption may very well be premature. Even Australia, that most isolated of continents, has its own BHM, the Yeti, often described as a Bigfoot or gorilla-like creature. Many sightings of the Yeti occur around the vast blue mountains that dominate the city of Sydney. But the Springbok region in southeast Queensland has had more Yeti reports than anywhere else in Australia. Whilst the Yeti has been reported from as far back as the 19th century, the phenomenon has only gained notice in the last 40 years. In 1842, a description of the beast was published as a letter in the pages of Australian and New Zealand Monthly Magazine, which described a beast resembling a man, but with long white hair hanging down from the head, extraordinarily long arms with claws, and feet turned backwards. A hideous monster of unearthly character and ape-like appearance. This description has likely been somewhat embellished. An account in 1876 asked readers on whether they had heard of a creature called the Yahoo Devil, or the hairy man of the woods. And in 1881, a newspaper reported sightings of a large baboon-like animal that stood taller than a man. And in 1882, a Mr. H.J. McCooey, yes, that really was his name, claimed to have seen a 5-foot-high, tailless, covered in creature, man-like creature covered in long black hair. Another sighting of a similar creature was reported in 1894 in New South Wales. The Yowie continued into the 20th century. In 1903, a man claimed he witnessed Aborigines kill an animal that he dubbed a Yahoo, which apparently looked like a man but covered all over with grey hair. And in 1912, George Summerall saw a strange creature drinking from a creek. Allegedly, it was about 7 feet tall. Large, four-toed, human-like footprints were found at the scene. Whilst they were sent to a local university, no analysis has ever been released. In the 1970s, the Yowie became well known to the outside world. In 1971, footprints, larger than human, were found in an area where no people were present. And in 1977, a Queensland senator called Bill O'Chee claimed he had seen a 3-metre-tall Yowie on a school trip. The most interesting aspect of this story is that O'Chee compared the creature he saw to the character Chewbacca from Star Wars. Yes, he did. And in 1993, a man named Neil Frost encountered a two-legged animal that he claimed had a thick coat of hair, weighed close to 300 pounds, and had bright red eyes. When the beast realised it had been spotted, it ran. And in June 2013, a music videographer and resident of Lismore, who insisted upon remaining anonymous, saw a Yowie crossing Bangalore Road whilst he was driving home. The Yowie had black hair, had a solid build, lanky legs and long arms. It wore no clothes like a human. And it wasn't wearing clothes. The reality of the Yowie is fairly fishy at best. Australia's been isolated for more than 70 million years, or even the most primitive primates evolved. The only native placentals prior to humans were rodents. A number of peculiar theories have been used to explain the Yowie. Humans that have taken to solitary life and become unusually hirsute and unkempt, or a primate like marsupial. The fossil wombat relative Hulatherian has often been cited. Both of these ideas have problems. Even unusually hairy humans will be recognisable. Indeed, humans living wild in Australian bush have been instantly recognised. And even Hulatherian, that only looks vaguely primate-like, it would have more resembled a giant panda. And no one who's seen a Yowie has described anything other than an ape-man. Of all the world's BHMs, the Yowie was ranked as one of the least convincing. Finally, even Europe has its own BHMs. Accounts of Bigfoot-like creatures have been reported from Spain, Eastern Europe, Scotland, and even North England. Some believe a flesh and blood Bigfoot is behind these accounts. However, it somehow managed to evade detection for many, many years, with no evidence of its existence in the fossil record. No explanation how this is possible. In their defence, BHMs in Europe are nothing new. Legends of European wildmen go back over a millennium. In Britain they're called the Wood-Ouse and often appear depicted on churches, especially in Suffolk. And are often depicted as a large, hairy, bearded man often carrying a club. They were unable to speak, but allegedly could communicate with animals, had a fondness of thunderstorms and a protectiveness of humans it liked. An example of a British wild man was the wild man of Orford, who was allegedly captured by sailors and was naked but resembled a man in every way, with a profuse beard, hair that seemed torn and rubbed on the head, and very hirsute breasts. Brought back to the local castle, he was unable to speak, did not show any reverence when taken to the local church, and preferred to eat raw fish. Eventually, he escaped. Albertus Magnus, in the 13th century, recorded 2 European wild men captured in Saxony, and much later in 1661, a similar animal was sent to the Queen of Poland, who taught him to do simple tasks. And in 1784, Michael Wagner studied an animal that was claimed to have a sloping forehead, large eyebrow ridges, and a hairy body. This animal was also unable to speak, as is recorded from other captured individuals. Like it or not, there's a long history of BHMs in Europe, going back over 1,000 years. However, whatever the root of this phenomenon is, it's unlikely to be on known large primates. It's highly unlikely for many reasons. Many European countries are highly populated and well explored, with little, if any, space for large, unknown animals to hide. The most likely theory for medieval wildmen is that they're based on distorted accounts of apes or large monkeys. In medieval times, it was common for European aristocrats to import exotic animals from the 4 corners of the world. Large monkeys and apes were amongst those animals. Some of these animals might have escaped and wreaked havoc. The uneducated peasants, with no knowledge of apes or monkeys, would see them as hairy wild men. This doesn't explain all the stories, but it might explain something. Sightings of these creatures today, on the other hand, they are not pranks or mistakes. They are not flesh and blood animals. but they are something far, far different. We must enter the realm of zooform phenomena again, and a realm like where biologically minded people fear to tread. However, relict hominids may have lived on mainland Europe until quite recently. As our very own Lars Thomas has researched, the Almasti resembles ancient depictions of Nordic trolls. This, combined with the fact the Almasti has been seen within 20 miles of the Finnish border with Russia, means it's not impossible that these relict hominids have crossed the border into northeastern Europe. The Almasti, or a close relative of it, may be the creature behind the Nordic trolls. So are BHM's animal, myth, or something in between? They're all these things and more. Some are flesh and blood unknown species, some are known animals simply out of place, some are of other origins, and some are simply invented bogeymen. This feels right, this feels to be expected. Part of me thinks a simple, all-encompassing explanation would feel like an anticlimax. A toast to all BHMs, a toast to all BHMs everywhere. May they live 1,000 years.